marina at 12 and we went back out again. And we were back in at just after 2 and we hooked 7 fish and got 4. They were just biting their heads off. That was in between fighting time, whatever else. So there's a lot of fish out there at the moment, and yesterday hit obviously really well. And then I've had lots of guys today text me this afternoon and said they got their bag on a 6 this morning, or 3, or whatever it might be, you know. And lots of guys lost gear and lost lots of fish too. So tonight we're going to try and get you into that and how they do it, how we do it, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So welcome along, and hopefully who's going to go tomorrow? A few are, half you are, and Saturday. So Saturday the mornings the weather's better, just to let you know that too. So well, it's changing every day, but the weather forecast now is for Friday is in the morning, like from straight up, it's like 8 to 10 knots from the northwest, west. And it's like that most of the day actually, it doesn't get too bad. And then Saturday is like, if you get there like 4 in the morning, it's like 1 knot. And then by 7, I think it's 3 knots. But if you go tomorrow, you got more chance of getting the fish where they get a bit scattered from the people. But the fish bite will be better, I think, on Saturday, because the wind's from a bit of west first up. Then as soon as it cracks daylight, it swings around to the east and get a little bit of south in it. So that's a really good wind for mackerel. Sunday morning looks not too bad as well, but early, I think it's about 8 or 10 knots by sort of mid-morning. But the bite time is a really good bite time in the afternoon. So obviously it's like 1 or 2 o'clock today. Tomorrow will be 2 or 3, and then Saturday will be 3 or 4, and Sunday will be just before sort of 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which I think is about 12 knots. So I'm even contemplating Sunday afternoon myself. Yeah, so.
You're saying the bite time, where do you get that information from?
My head. If you can just imagine in your head, guys, this isn't for any fishing, doesn't matter what it is, right? Obviously something's a high tide like squid or whatever it might be, or certain species of fish. But generally the best bite's always an hour and a half after high tide. That's the start of the bite, and it runs to about halfway down tide. Flatties, same deal, everything. It doesn't matter what it is, whiting, doesn't matter. So if your high tide's at 10 in the morning, your bite time's going to be 11:30 till 1:32. When it's at midday, it'll be 1:30 till 3:30. Just remember that 1.5 hours after, and at 2.5 hours after, it's like you're right in at the best time. Yeah. And they do a bit, mate. I have caught lots in the northerly, so I must admit. But I love a light southerly the most. That's like today was like the perfect scenario, and it went around to the east. We went around this afternoon again. It was east. This morning was a bit at southwest actually, and then went around south, and we're back in early. But during the mid-morning, I'd say it went around to the east. The northerly hadn't kicked in when we were out there this afternoon. But the fish were really stacked up on the sounder both this morning and this afternoon. So does everyone know how mackerel look on the sounder? There's like little lines, right? Sometimes if the more stationary you are, like if you're at anchor or drifting for mackerel, they'll come up as a long line, row of lines on your sounder. But when you're moving, say you're doing 6 knots trolling, there'll be little lines, okay, because it's altered a little bit differently. So they'll just be like supposed to. So they'll just look like this, but not like that. I wouldn't fish that spot. So that's your screen. And your bottom might just be like that. You want a little bump there. And this might be 0 to 50 metres, and that's say 40 metres, say your depth's around 41 metres deep. And there might be another little bump there, a bit of stuff there, like that. There will be obviously bait sitting on that. There's normally a bit of bait there. Sometimes it come down the side here, a bit of bait there, like that. Now the mackerel today were really down deep. They were down really deep. Okay, so they were like that, and it might be like that. And that was this morning. And so this morning, what we do when I go out in the mornings, I troll hardbodies first up in the dark, because I want to try and find that on my sounder, try and find where they are, and I'll mark it. I've got my own spots I go to all the time, but sometimes they've moved or they're not there. So you need to find where they are. Then I'll come back and then I'll troll the baits, which we'll talk about shortly. So I'll trial the lures first to find where they are, then I switch to baits. Then about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, the boat traffic switches them down. They get put off. They go deep. They'll go deep again. So by sort of 6 o'clock, you'll get shows like this before there's too many boats swimming around like that, and they come up. So that's when you'll get them easy on baits, trial on baits. If you've got a downrigger, obviously you can fish any time with baits with a downrigger. You can get right down here. But if I was in that depth there, 41 metres to there, I'd be trolling my downrigger at about 28 or 30, because it's nothing for them to come up 10 metres or 15 metres to a bait. So you don't want to lose your bomb on the bottom or your rig. So always make sure you're trolling this sort of depth here, you know. But if they're there, I'll be trolling probably around that depth, because it's quicker to get your downrigger back up, and it's a lot of things in your favour. So it depends on where the fish are. But this afternoon when we went out, the fish had come back up. They were like that. So when we were going along, and we got like this sort of about that depth there, and that was about 30 metres down, say 32 metres, and our lures are diving down about 8 or 10. They were coming up and smacking them. As soon as we go over that, it'll just be instant strike. And then when we got today we've got 2 double hookups, one this morning on baits, one this afternoon on lures. One cut off the other line, so we lost the lure and a line, and right at the back of the boat too. Another time was exactly like that scenario there, and I just said, just look at that mackerel there. Next minute, one rod went off. We got it on GoPro, but I won't put it up until next week. But and then my mate ran out the back, and then he's going, the other rod, and then the other rod took off. It had a fish on it, and then we were both laughing, and next minute the third rod took off. There's only 2 of us on the boat. The first thing I thought was get the 4th rod in, because that's going to be too hard. So I got that lure out of the water so I couldn't eat it. But these fish that were at this level, they were just aggressive. So the fish are really aggressive at the moment. Even when we got them on board, they were like really super hyped up and healthy, very healthy. So look for that sort of scenario. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So in the morning, if you've got hardbody lures, chuck them out the back, do a few laps around, mark everything, sit on about 6 to 7 knots is the speed. Today we tried, because we're always testing, so we tried 5 knots, we tried 5.5, we tried 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5. 6.3 to 6.8 was the happy speed to get the bites today. Trolling lures. Trolling baits, we're trolling as slow as we can go. Okay. So. Sorry, mate. No, they were coming up, like I'm only trolling just the weight of like that, you know, just the weight on my rig. Oh, yeah. But I'm only using, I tend to use braid more than mono, because my line gets down a lot deeper. So I'm using really thin braid, like that's what I think I showed you the last time, but I'll pass that around. So I should take it out from it. So I'm trolling on most of my rigs now. This is around 60 pound braid, but it's only 30 pound diameter of most braids. So it's really thin. Very light, so this gets down. I used to troll that on 30 pound mono, and I'd reckon it'd be down at 1 knot. I reckon it's down about probably 3 metres or 4 metres. But on this stuff, I reckon it's down about, like my line acuteness has gone from like that to about that. So I reckon it's down about 10, yeah. By using light braid. In and out of gear. So when I see that sort of scenario, or that sort of scenario, I'll pull it out of gear. Depends if I'm going in the wind or with the wind. If I'm going in the wind, you can't, because you go around and run over your line. So depends how windy it is too. But when I'm going with the wind, yeah, pull it out 100% for sure. Yeah. And same with spotties too, same scenario. But anyhow, I think we'll go through the gear, then I'll tell you how to do it. We'll tell you how to do it. Yep. So, like guys, I always say to everyone, I troll with anything. I do have my favourite outfits, but we're here to make you guys feel comfortable with whatever gear, whether it be low end or high end. So we sort of cross the whole spectrum to see if the low end will work, and obviously now the high end's going to work. But yeah, so this little outfit here is what I was using today. And that caught about probably 4 mackerel today. It's only a little tiny reel, but that's got that same braid on that's going around. which is really thin. I've got 50-pound fluorocarbon leader on here, which you guys have got in that bag, I think. I've got a fairly long leader, as you can see. I like a little bit of stretch, but there's the line there, so it's so thin. So it gets right down. And it doesn't matter if the reel's that size or a TLD 25 size, you just top shot it. So you just put 300 metres on top, and it doesn't matter how big the reel is, it'll handle it, obviously. But it's more about you being able to get into that zone. And if you're putting on 15-pound mono, it's not going to really do the job too well for baits. Perfect for trolling lures though. But for trolling baits, I'd recommend long leader as your leader for the shock, and using really thin braid to get down there. Slow troll. I troll with, well, there's a TLD 25 there. That's still got the lure on from today. That lure smashed it too, by the way. But that's 15 kilo mono, all the way through, I think it is, yep, all the way through. So it's a little bit old school, but I like it. And I'll use it mainly when I'm trolling divers, but I still troll divers on that one there too.
So you don't have a trace off of those ones?
That's got a trace.
Oh, has it
on
got one,
but
is it?
yeah.
Oh, it has. It's
About
got a wind.
100
Sorry,
pound wind
it's
on
got a wind on this, so it's 80, 100 pound.
Oh, yeah.
80, I think it is. But it is the same thing for catching marl and catching everything. So, yeah. So, and then I got Tiagas. I got everything else as well. That Speedmaster there, Stewie. So this is the Speedmaster 12. A really nice little outfit. That one's got 15 kilos. It's not mine, but this is new stuff. Trying to show you new stuff. But that's sort of like the really happy size to use for Spanish mackerel and marl and whatever else. 15 kilo line, and really good for trolling baits. And I still troll with egg beaters too. So whether it be a Saragossa or a Saltus diver, or something like these new, I haven't got one of the new ones of these yet, but I've got the old version of the Stratix SW. But that outfit there, you can bait fish, whether it be trolling, casting, or bait fishing for mackerel with, you know, that sort of size. So around about 5,000 or 6,000 size reel, and like a P 3 to 4 rod that's got a little bit of tip action with it. So I can take the tip down, and the tip that takes a lot of the strain off the whole outfit. And that sort of size is really good for doing everything. Okay. So most of you should have outfits in that size range, from that little one to that bigger one. You don't want to troll with 50 wides for Spanish mackerel unless you're a yachter going up north and catching 40 kilo ones. But down this area of town, it's not too bad. Like today, we lost 2 really good fish. I mean, like, they were big. Like, one stripped off about 200 metres of bloody braid. It's like, holy crap. And it just kept going and going and going.
Do you use a white trace with your lures, don't you?
No. So, and I don't use it, Deb uses it for, I use it for, take back that. I do use it if I'm trolling for Wahoo, but not for Spanish mackerel, no. Yeah. So Spanish mackerel, like today we lost 2 lures, and we lost 1 rig, one bait rig, which is my favourite head style one too, by the way, one I've custom made. But anyhow, but you get a lot more bites.
Is it a body? It's a bite aspect.
It's a bite aspect, and definitely, like I said to my customers, you know, you're going to spend, I don't know how big your boat is, but average $100 in juice, whatever, and like for a $20 lure or $30 lure, it's worth the money to get a lot more bites than not get any bites. You're going to spend that money to get out there, plus your time. Yeah.
If you're not using the trays on your lures, are you just using that 50-pound leader?
Yeah, the 50-pound, that's my go-to. Yep. I use that on all my mackerel lures. Actually, a couple of years ago, they were a little bit finicky, and I got down to 25-pound fluorocarbon on lures that size, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like 8-metre divers, 10-metre divers, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but predominantly I find 50 is really good.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's enough to grab and pull in without cutting your hands too bad,
Sure.
and gaff it, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but please, whatever you do, guys, don't run a long trace on your lures with a swivel right up there, because the fish is still out there and you're trying to gaff it and you've got to manhandle it, especially if you're on your own. You need to be able to have that swivel, join your line to your braid or to your with a wind on lead on a mono or a all braid or whatever onto your braid, so that swivel's right there at the end of the rod, and you can wind the fish right up to there to gaff it, because that's really hard. But the thing with mackerel is, if you've actually got a couple on and they're all over the joint, and they go behind the motors, wherever it might be, you can't allow that to lose that fish at that point. You've got to get the fish right there, quickly gaff it and get it in the boat. Another thing too, just be really careful. Like today, they're so slippery. We nearly fell over twice on the deck. They land on the deck, and the next one we were nearly over with them on the deck because their slime hit the deck. It was like, I've seen slimier than normal, but it's been a year since I caught them. But they're really out there. And today we nearly got teeth on our ankles a couple of times because we had 2 or 3 fish flapping on the deck, and they're all sliding everywhere, and we're just trying to gaff the next one. Pretty full on. That was good fun. You'll see it on the video. Dongers, we didn't bring a donger up, but dongers is something I definitely suggest. And sorry for the greenies watching, but you need to put the fish out of its misery. You need to save yourself. That's what it's all about. So hit those mothers on the head and knock them out a bit, and then put it in the esky. I slit their throats straight away as well, bleed them, and then put it in the esky after that. Or put it in the esky if you don't want the blood in the esky. That's fine. But you need to bleed them as well. Okay.
What sort of size were they?
Today the smallest is probably 8 kilo, and the average was about 10 to 12. So good fish. Yeah, and the ones we lost, I saw. But actually, I had to tell a couple of customers. I had a funny bite today. I had it really close in lure. This is afternoon on the lures, so I had a real close in lure, deep diver. And then I had my next lure a fair way out. That's when we got the double hook up, and the one close, we actually saw the flash. It actually hit it coming up. It actually hit it from like that, a shark attack, like that way, not sideways around there, straight up, and actually come straight to the top nearly. And the other rod took off then with another fish on it, and then the lines crossed, and one was on the top and one was out a long way. And as soon as it hit it, we lost the big one in the middle.
How far out?
24 fathoms diamond reef. So this morning, so the way you tell people catching fish is they stop, unless they're going to drop their lines down, their baits down. But when they stop, and you'll see them gaffing the fish all over the joint. At probably 7 o'clock this morning as we were about to leave, there was many boats stopped and many boats getting gaffing fish in the boat. Some of my mates bagged out by 7 o'clock with 6 fish. Yeah, two guys. It's a lot of mackerel.
It's a lot.
So Stewie, what do we got here in gear, mate? So we're going to get running through the gear, how to rig it, and then what we do. We sort of touched that a little bit, but we'll do it a bit better. And then that way you guys are clued up. So our biggest selling rigs, Stewie?
Our biggest selling rigs, guys, are probably just like we do them in 2 sizes, so we actually make these ones in store. So they're just rigged on single strand wire. That's like a little pilly rig.
Yep.
So that's like the style for more your spotties and stuff like that. Slow trolling around mermaid and palmy and things like that.
This is the one all the guys on skis use.
Yeah,
that
very
sort of rig
popular.
like that. So some of you might already be using this type of rig, and if you're not, you should be using, because that's what kills the spotties. And it's on, I think the wire's about 44 pound, single strand. The hooks are 4/0s. They're straight, they're not offset, they're straight so the bait doesn't spin. A little bit of lead at the front. We use a nose cone. Some guys just use a bit of copper wire.
Yeah.
Some of our rigs do have copper wire on them, actually, if we can't get the nose cones. And you put with this one, there's a little bit of single strand wire. You've got this in your bag, guys, but there's a little bit of wire sticking up. That bit of wire actually sticks up through the nose, at the bottom of the mouth, and out through the nose between its eyes. So you need to measure that first hook where it's going to start with that piece of wire sticking up in that position, laid alongside the pilchard, right? We'll put it on one at the moment and pass it around. And then you put the hook in from the back. So one hook will go around where the tail is, just in that little bit of meat in the tail. Second hook will be around the back side. Next hook will be just before the gills. And the last bit of wire goes up through here and out there. And then you get that little cone, and you come down, it's got a little divider on there. You just split it sort of goes into that cone. And then you just screw it up as tight as you can on its head, so it's really tight and can't go any further. Then you just nicely lay the skirt down, pull it down. If you want, you can put a leg over the bit of that little bit sticking up just to lock it all in. Just go through the leg with a bit of wire and slow troll it, and it just kicks its butt. And I've been using these out here since my dad, like 40 years ago. So they've always been the go-to, and they still are. They're still the best thing ever. Colour-wise, as Stewie said, pink's our biggest seller.
Big seller.
But But
White
there are,
works really
yeah,
well.
white's probably second. And last year, I think I told you guys, some of you guys recently, last year we ran out of pink skirts. We couldn't get pink skirts, so we had a heap of white skirts. So we put white skirts on. I've never used white really. And then when we got the pink skirts back in, so we started doing the white ones, and everyone come in and say, "Where's the white ones?" We're like, "We've got the pink ones back in." We go, "No, but we're catching fish on the white ones." So I think they all work at their times.
I think so, yeah.
And the best thing to do, guys, it's not a matter of putting a whole new rig on. You'll learn to have a few skirts in your tackle box, and skirts are cheap as chips. And you just get a little pair of braid scissors, just cut the nipple off the end there, and pull one off, this one off, and put another colour on. Okay, so they're not going to pink, just try changing the colour. And if you see guys catch a fish near you, watch the colour they're using. That's really important, especially that palmy. Yep.
Yep, and like we do them in a bit bigger size as well, so that's more of your gary or souri type size. So it's bigger hooks. I think they're about a 6 or
7.
7.
7 or
And we do bend them a little bit, so you can see there that it's bent. It doesn't weaken the hook too much, and it's just so the hooks sit a lot nicer in the bait.
They sit up deeper in the bait. Yeah.
Yeah, and same theory, just a bit heavier wire on the bigger rig. So I think that's 69 pound.
And a bit bigger, weight.
Bit bigger weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, with the wire, when you do buy your rigs and make up your own rigs, if you want to make them up, that's the idea of giving you this one here is you copy it because it's a lot cheaper if you make it because time consuming, that's why they're expensive. The wire on the heavy one needs to be at least 69 or 88. I use 88 pound a lot. I think it's 86, sorry, which is size number, this one's 88, sorry. Size number 8 anyhow. The reason being, when you get a solid, whether it be a tailor 35 centimetres or a big slimy or whatever it may be, bonito, if you've got too thin a wire on, when you go through the mouth, it's okay, but when you try to push that through that part, it bends and it just can't go up, and it's very frustrating. So you just want to be able to push it and go tunk out through the top. So you need a bit of meat in the wire to be able to do that. Okay? Otherwise you can't.
Use wire when you use the lures. Is it the speed thing?
Speed. No, it's because they crunch it harder, mate. They just go hard. Yeah. Like I think a lure one is like, it's like, what do they call it when you make them bite, right?
Yeah, it's more of a reaction.
Reaction bite, that's the word I'm looking for. So that's when you're trolling lures, they just see something go past, they go, nail this, they just try and get it, you know. But a bait, because you're going so slow, they've got time to look at it and come up and whatever, and then just nail it, you know.
Like strategically eat it. It's
yeah,
not a,
that's the word.
like out of the blue, real quick one.
So I was out, this is only the second time I've been mackerel fishing this year. I was out 2 weeks ago with Stewie, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were. And I was trolling a gar. Oh no, sorry, big slimy, big slimy. And the rod just went, it could be on Wahoo, that's in 40 centimetres deep. And the rod just went, eh. And I thought, oh, I just had a touch. And so I wound it up, and my wire's about that long, as you see there, and it's right in the middle, bitten off, and it's a 69-pound wire. So it was either a big Spanish, and there's been a few big ones, been around 20 kilos at the moment, 22 kilos, or it was a Wahoo, one of the two, yeah. But that's a chance to take. You go too heavy in the wire, they won't bite. It's a bit like using mono on the lures, right? They look at it, they know.
They do.
Yeah, look at it. Now, with those rigs, there's a couple of things you need to, that can learn to get it down deeper. So how many guys here have downriggers? No one has downriggers? Okay, good. That's fine. We do sell a thing called a paravane. So and the metal paravane is the best paravane. Do you all know what a paravane is? The triangle thing's the plastic one's the cheaper version. The metal one's what the pros use. It has like a sling across the top, like a metal drawer across the top.
Like
That's it. Graham's got one there.
So that's like a planer board, they call it, or a paravane. It's very similar.
And they get down like about 20 metres, maybe. They just keep going down. When you hook the fish, they flip over. You don't even know it's on there. But before it flips over, it just keeps going and going and going and going. They're really good and very, very popular up north for mackerel fishing by the pros. The only downfall with those is you need to run your line off the end of the paravane. It has two connection points. One's for your line and one's for your leader, for your rig. So if you have your rig too far behind it, it may get a few things. One is like having the swivel I said before. You got your your paravein there and the fish is still way out there, so you've got to hand line it in there, you know. So the trouble is
As a downrigger.
you can't.
You can use it as a downrigger.
You can use it as a downrigger on a separate rig, that's right. The other problem is if you have it too close to the rig, it's because it's a bit flashy, they'll bite it and they'll bite the whole thing off. So everything with mackerel's a bit of a chance you take. Good fun though. So getting your line down deeper. What I do, I don't put any rigs here, I have got one here. This little rig I make, I play around all the time and try and correct better what I did the year before, but it doesn't seem to work much different. But I might add like a weighted, that's one of my Wahoo skirts, add a more heavier front on it, so it gets it down deeper again. And a lot of time I'll add an 8-ounce barrel or these are 6-ounce barrel. Oh, sorry, these are they're 6-ounce. Or an 8-ounce barrel to get it down deeper again. So I'll sit that up just in front of that, like very close to it, and I'll run that like that. And the barrels, and sometimes I put an 8-ounce or 2 of those in line to get it down deeper again. If you don't have a downrigger, you need to try and get it down deep, because sometimes they just don't want to swim up to your bait. But the deeper down you can get, the more fish you get. So you see the guys at downriggers, particularly in around April, they just smash it because everything's deep. They've been scared that much by the boats traffic for the last 3 months of the season. They just stay deep, but the fish are bigger. So you've got to learn to either get your lines down there or get a downrigger. But there's a lot of different options you can do there. This is really popular too, particularly on that bigger rig. These are called wog heads, and they're very popular with the pros up north as well. So that's quite a heavy head on the front there. It's lead, and they have a big hole in the butt there to get that cone up inside, so it all locks into place. And when you're going along, that pulls back like that over the top of the bait, sort of thing. So it looks like that on the bait. Okay.
It creates a lot more like body.
The mackerel love them. I'll pass that around too. Thanks, Stu. Any questions on that so far? No? Okay, cool. So definitely put weight on the first hook. Another reason too, guys, when you start to learn to swim baits and stuff like that, if you got weight at the front, it makes the tail sit up and the head does its thing. If you don't put any weight on there, it sort of slides a bit and doesn't work too good. So you need to have weight on that first hook. Sometimes I put on the first 2 hooks, but definitely on the first hook.
It kind of acts like a bit of a rudder, like as well. If you don't have weight, it can just come straight up to the top and just skip along the top type of thing.
So all the bits and pieces there, we sell all that stuff. To make that up for yourself, it probably costs you buying it, I don't know, maybe $4 or $5, or we sell them for like $20 because of the time. So it's cheaper you guys make it. I'd rather sell them to you, but up to you guys. So that's the rigs we're going to use. So in the hooks, in the gang hooks, a lot of guys are a bit worried about using gang hooks and how to make the gang hooks. You can buy pre-made hooks, and there's certain hooks that are terrible, and there's other hooks that are really good. So you want something that's straight, not offset, so you can't use like tailor hooks. You can, but you need to put it into the vise and straighten it. Okay, they've got to be straight. I'll pass these around too. So these 2 here would be very good because they're tough and they're sharp. True turn hooks aren't too bad as well. That's okay on a pilly rig, that one there. Thanks, Drew. And these aren't too bad as well. These are cheap as. And these ones, you just got to bend them into the shape, but very sharp. Okay, we might just rig these up with a couple of baits on them now, guys, and you'll see how the bait sits on there. Has anybody done these sort of rigs before? Like obviously, somebody's got us to use pilly rigs before, I'd say. Yep. And you got them swimming okay, not too bad?
Yeah.
Yep.
I only had it once, but it worked.
It worked okay, yep. Yeah, good. All good, mate?
Yeah.
Yep. Bonito, yeah, so you got the tail kicking along in that?
Spend the time the day before, it's heaps easier.
Oh, it is heaps easier, yeah. Yeah, like the secret scenario is if you can go and catch your own little pretty boys or little bonitos. Yeah, or whenever, and you can even freeze them up in wrap them in glad wrap, whatever, or cry back them with the rig on them. So you rig them up fresh, and then you just grab them out of the freezer and snap it on. That's the way to do it. Pilchards are a bit hard though, but with pillies, most of the pillies you buy are pretty fresh anyhow. When you buy your pillies, try and get big ones, okay? So you want sort of like that sort of size one, not the little tiny ones you see around. Fairly big pillies. Garfish, don't get too small. So that's like it's about as small as I'd use, or the average size, so to speak, a little bit smaller maybe. There's different types of gar. You don't want like normal type sea gar because they're too skinny. The ones you catch in the broadwater in March to May.
Yeah, about now. Almost,
Yes,
yeah.
they're good. They're chunky and they work really well. They've got a smell to them. So why do gar work so good on mackerel is the smell. They've got a smell that other fish don't have. It's not a fishy smell, it's a different smell. Hard to explain. But gars what I was using today, they got smashed. So what you do with the gar, there's a few things you do. First thing is you snap the beak off. So keep the bottom beak and the top beak about the same length. Okay, so you snap the bottom one off. They got a little silver line along the side here. On that silver line, you just pop along the top there. You hear that? So what it is, it cracking the flesh off the backbone. Okay, and now it's a lot more softer and swims a lot nicer. So just push along that little thing with your fingers like that and like that. Okay, and then just you hear it pop, 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 and now it's really nice. And then for me, I put my glasses on. My glasses, I can see it. So grab that rig stew you had before.
Mackerel pretty much go for the tail.
Look, I think they see it. No, I think they see it like rolling. They roll. They don't just pull like that. They've got a little bit of action to them. And when the boat's surging and that and goes a bit, they're inquisitive. They come up and have a look at it because you're going so slow. They've got time to understand it and how to hit it. And I think they just nail it. The tail doesn't do big lots, but when I use bonito and even a big slimy, I break at about just where the joint is before it goes fat again onto the body. At that point there, you need to crack the bone. Thank you. Crack the bone, but don't break the skin. Okay. You sort of hold it and then just like that, and that's it. And the tail goes like that. It's really good. Okay. So again, we're just measuring it up. So you're getting that wire just in front of his eyes there and through both of the snout and the bottom one. So I'm going to start my first hook roughly about here and just push it in. Try not to pierce the skin either side because that's going to become a pickup point for the hook and just in trolling it, and it'll eventually wear through it. This hook's a bit stiff. Sabotage through. Sorry about that. I know my hook's come out. Straight to the backside. Now with gar that you catch fresh, you'll need to learn to squeeze the poo tube out too. So to do that, I didn't do it on this one because it's obviously already done, I think. But these hooks are stiff. Sorry. It's all good. So you need to hold the gar like that and push all the way down with your thumb, all the way down, and all this green crap comes out of its bum. So get that out. You want nothing in its belly, otherwise it'll bloat up and it'll pop and force it out. You don't want that. Well, this one's got a broken straw and you've read the wrong one. Now when you do this, don't stab yourself. I've done that so many times though. So you just get that cone. So it's just running loose there, okay? And just pop it over the snout. Split, it's got a little split thing there. And just screw it up as hard as you can under his head. Over his head, sorry. As much as you can go. Try and get that sitting pretty well under his chin, center sort of thing. And just a skirt here, slide that down. Just get it over that nozzle so there's no water being forced down its stomach. That's why I use a skirt. I think the skirt does attract fish too, but the most important thing is it doesn't allow the water to go down its mouth and blow its belly out. Okay, and that's it. Ready to go. And pilchards the same scenario. Pillies are a bit softer, so you've got to work with them. So, as I said before, you just measure it out where that's going to go up through his mouth here. You want to sit that around about that distance there, just in front of his eye here. You can all see, I know it's hard down the back there, guys. But the first hook's going to start about there. Put the hook in. I said don't break the skin at the back on the side. Next hook. Next hook. Some guys troll them up the other way, upside down sort of thing, so to speak. I'm not a fan of that, but some guys, that's what they do and it works and they stick by it. It's up to you. If the wire starts to point forward too much, just bend it back a little bit. And that's it again. Do you sit that little weight straight or flat? Doesn't make any difference. Just sits there, whichever way it may be. That's a little bit sabotaged. I don't want to bend too much. I keep ripping it there. Oh, that's got to go down.
Yep.
So it's true. Thanks.
We got a tap.
Yeah. It's going to want my hands first. Thank you. And trial as slow as you can go. So if you've got two motors and you're going with the wind, I'd turn one motor off and just go with the one motor.
Can you put it on your electric?
You probably could actually.
yeah.
Yeah, you could. Stealth mode. So when I'm trialling around for spotties with that rig there down at Mermaid, which will happen sometime soon, when the spotties come in more thicker, and I like trialling right behind the shark nets. They're really quiet, away from the pack. So I'm about probably 100 metres west of them. Sorry. Yeah, I sometimes use electric. Yeah, but 4 strokes these days are pretty quiet. Yeah.
What about strip plates?
So I have tried back like American style with the belly flaps and that sort of stuff. No, nothing beats billies and stuff like that, gar, saris. So your prime baits for spotties are going to be the pilchers number 1. Little slimy is probably number 2. I've caught them on yakkers as well. Little pike work really well as well. And believe it or not, I've caught a lot of spotties when I'm trialing for Spanish with tailor that big or bonito, and 8 hooks and the spotty will smash it, But you not really want to waste that sort of bait on that sort of size fish, 4 or 5 kilos. And then for your Spanish mackerel, I'd have to say gar's my favourite. Everyone's got their favourite. Slimy's probably number 2 for me, but slimy's on a downrigger seem to outfish anything. Tailor's really good as well, but got to be 35 centimetres. And pike's not too bad. I've caught them on mullet, even when I couldn't get gar, use mullet, but I rig up it differently. I'm going to show you how to put a rig on a live bait in a moment. With the slimies, when they're dead, because slimies are quite a hardy little fish, if that makes sense. They're quite tough and they're quite more fatter torpedo shape rather than slender. So they have a bit of a different action. So it's sometimes you put a gang in, it's lost because the meat's so big on the sides, right? So with slimies, a lot of time you just put a hook in the mouth. We've got a rig here, I'll show you in a sec. A hook in the mouth, out like so, and then you can still wire it up, and that'll put the hook back in the gill and put the hook under the mouth and wire it up, which under the eyes and wire it up. But what you do is you run like 2 lots of trebles on single strand, and one will go underneath and one will go on the top or maybe on the side. And it seems to look and present better than ganged sometimes, particularly bigger slimies.
But it's getting down.
Just got to get it down though.
Yeah.
Got to get down, yeah. So
What size barrel sensors are you using there?
4 to 8. 4 to 8 size barrel sinker. Those leads coming around now are called net leads, and they're called split net leads actually. There's 2 sizes, one's a big size, one's a small size. We do have those in coloured as well, so they come in red and pink. We've got them downstairs. So obviously they present even better if you've got a red gill underneath the belly. They've been sort of like powder coated or something like that, or painted.
It's a pretty tough coating.
Yeah, it's pretty tough coating, yeah. So they're downstairs. but you need to, when you put those leads onto the hook, you need to like sort of roll it over the top of each other. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
you close one side
yeah, that's
first,
right. And
and
then
then,
roll
the other
down.
one over the top.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because if you just crimp it flat, it would just be way too deep.
Could you use lead ribbon and just roll it around and crimp it?
You could,
You could.
but you want probably 3 mil or something, or
Yeah,
2
you
mil.
will, and a
yeah.
fair bit.
Yeah. Yep. Look at the,
Going back to that bed bait route,
yeah,
do you always put a nose cone on it?
I do always for like except for this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so for that one there, always do the nose cone. Yeah, so we're using gar 100% definitely, and saris and pike.
Put one on, I just have to cut it off.
If you already have your rigs made up, you can buy the nose cones. That's correct. You need to use single strand wire and have to have that little point sticking up. Otherwise, you've got nothing to attach to. Yeah. So learn to do the haywire twist. So
Yeah.
if you're unsure how to do a haywire twist, when you buy the
Is there a
wire,
nose
just
cone on that?
just
No, that's what
I'll
I'm
put,
saying.
Oh.
one on, I'll put one on when I go downstairs.
Oh.
We've probably
sometimes
missed
you
it.
do it with or without.
Nah.
That's what I was asking.
Nah,
Yeah,
normally
that's-
always got one.
Alright.
Stuart.
Yeah, I know. Sleeping on the job. Nah, I'll do it down. 20 seconds.
The crank arm to get it off.
Yeah, the crank arm's the hard part, right? So when you're using single strand wire, there's an art to doing the haywire twist, but when you get good at it, it's really easy, right? But when you go to break the wire, as the gentleman's saying, that is the hardest part. So if you cut with a pair of side cutters, you get a burr on it and it rips the crap out of your hands or your mate's hands. You can't cut it with side cutters.
Yeah, just break it.
So the crank handle is like it's on a 90-degree angle, and you just like go like that, or turn it, and it'll pop. It'll just snap like after about 3 or 4 turns. Theoretically, but I've done it 100 times. It still does, and it gets all bent up and doesn't do anything. Yeah, it's painful. So what I do now is I hold it flat and I push it down as hard as I can that way, and then as hard as I can that way, and I just do that about 6 times, and it pops. Sometimes when I push it back, especially the 38-pound wire, I stick it through my finger and stick it out here somewhere. It doesn't feel good. I've done that so many times, straight through my finger out the other side. So I suggest not, be careful, but you've got to hold your finger sort of on the bottom part of it so it doesn't move. This is a little snelled rig we use on like small live baits like yakkers and little slimies and stuff like that. So this type of one here, you can put that through the top part of his mouth. Oops, no, got it on your head, mouth. The sharp too. Had lots of hooks in me recently. In here and out, or through his eye section, just in front of his eyes where his nostrils are. And this one here just goes into either underneath or in the side, wherever it might be. These you need to make all sizes to suit the live bait you got. So when you get the gear, make it up yourself, and make them at different lengths. The wire, when it's a live bait, the fish are a lot less inquisitive. He's going to nail it. So whether you're using 27-pound wire or a 90-pound wire, doesn't really make much difference. But my suggestion would be, thanks mate, thanks Butch. My suggestion would be around about probably in single strand wire around 58-pound minimum size for liveys. And if you're using 7-strand or coated wire like this, I think it's about 40s or 60.
Yeah, it's around 40, I think.
40 to 60. We do, yeah. And in different sizes, we've got a couple of different sizes. I think.
Is still wire the same as mine?
Yep. So we snell the front hook on exactly the same, Graham. Yep.
Yep. I'll pass that around actually. Yeah. And that front hook is what a lot of our customers get confused on, because most hooks are a long shank, right? It needs to be a very short shank. It's the most important thing for you.
Snell doesn't need to have a bent eye.
Yeah, so it normally would be the case, but there is a secret. This is actually a hook off a lure. Yeah,
Like an
right.
inline single.
But they have a very big knob on there, which is very good for snelling on. So I'll pass this around. I'll leave one out, you can have a look. There's all different brands. There's BKK, there's a hook on one. This is actually a jig hook. The jig hooks also have a slightly bent eye, which is really good for snelling as well. So that's your 2 options you sort of have. Otherwise you've got big guns and stuff like that, but they're all offset and they don't really work that well. Yeah. Oh, sorry, thanks Drew. And then there's things like chin guards. You all know about chin guards? So chin guards are really good because they do it for you, but they're never right. So you need to take it off anyhow. So the head part's right, but the hooks are terrible. So this is a chin guard which we sell, and these are very hard to get at the moment. So the guys use these up. Has anyone ever used a ribbon fish? Ever fished up north with Spanish mackerel? So ribbon fish are like this long. They're very thin fish. It's like a hair tail.
Nice and shiny.
They're very shiny, that's correct. And they'll run those 7.0 or 8.0 hooks come around that bigger rig on the gar. They'll run like 8 of those in a row. Don't know if it's legal or not, but they do that. That's how the pros do it. And they'll use that same front. They use exactly that. They just change what's behind it. And their theory is the more hooks, the better. But how this works is on this particular one, it's not quite right because the hooks sort of sit that way. Does that make sense? Yeah. They're not sitting right. So you've got to put, and this should be bent that way. So you've got to put 2 split rings on, split ring on a split ring, which is always a bit risky. But if you get the flattened split ring, so in split rings, guys, you have round split rings and you have flat ones. The flat ones are the strongest. They're like a hardened steel or whatever you call it. They're tempered steel. And they don't bend out. They're really hard to bend out. The ones from Helco are quite good too. They're a triple ring, so they're actually triple wound, and they're very hard to bend as well. The problem is they're a pain in the ass to put on. So my suggestion is just get 2 hardened ones, 2 flat-sided ones. Probably up the ante on what's on here. I'll pass this around in a sec. But you want about probably a size 7 or 8, I'd say, which are about 60 or 80 kilo. And put those on here. But how this works, it comes with a little rubber band. So you should always have rubber bands in your boat, whether it be for downriggers or trolling or whatever, like balloons on. Have some number 16 rubber bands. So get yourself 1,000 of them from wherever, Officeworks for $10 or something. And keep them in your boat and use them on things like this as well. So this will go up through, his mouth will sit in here, okay? And these will go up through his head, around about where his eye is, one either side of his eye sort of thing. Stick it up through it, and then you get a little rubber band. Like so, thanks Stu. And you just go around like that, around over his head, then just back over the top again. Like so, and that just holds it on in place. So his head's like pulled down tight onto that thing there. And you put obviously 2 on. On the front here, you run your wire, whether it be single strand or whatever. One thing is when you get a big bait, it can sort of pull itself around a bit and swim nicely because it's quite strong and powerful and heavy. When you got a little bait, like say you're using like a ribbon fish, they don't do much. The shine actually works well on the ribbon fish. But you may want to put some 49 strand wire in the front, short piece of 49 strands. So 49 strands are a lot thinner. So say 90 pound 49 strands, probably half the thickness. It's probably the thickness of 40 pound 7 strand wire. But what 49 strand allows you to do, it's really supple. So that fish has just got to move a little bit and it'll actually kick much better than being pulled along straight by a single strand wire. Okay.
What type of knots do you do with the stranded though?
If it's stranded, I get a crimpet. Yeah, we do snell on things, but not on that. We wouldn't, no way. You'd be crimping that 100%.
So do this through the eye. And then
Through the top of the mouth or just before the eye, and the other one's either in the belly, and sometimes we'll run a second one a little bit longer maybe, and hook it in the tail and the side, whatever it might be. Yeah, it doesn't seem to alter its swimming action at all, no matter where you put the hook. It doesn't really do much. People think, oh, the wire's on the side's going to make it turn on the side like that. That's irrelevant, because the weight of the bait's much more than the wire.
So if you was going to be that, you want to get that down a little bit, so you put a barrel sink. Would you put the barrel sink?
So I would run that pillar rig going around now. I'd be running, is that the pillar rig, mate?
No, the live bait.
Oh, live bait rig. Oh, sorry. Yeah, live baits, yeah, if you've got a downrigger, obviously get right down deep. If you got a lead line just means using the sinkers on the front. So get it down deep as well. And you could try, with liveys, as I said, they're pretty aggressive on liveys. So they'll come up from here to the top to eat that livey.
But I was talking about, so you just attach that sinker to above that strip above
No.
I'd probably put it up.
You're right. So I run like my 50-pound fluorocarbon again, and then I'll maybe come up about maybe not too long, just that long, just enough so it's got a bit of action like that, bit of length to it, and then enough so I can still get the fish there and gaff it, right? So maybe that long. I'll run maybe 2 swivels or a swivel and a solid ring, and run the sinker in between. Yeah.
About a metre away from the bait.
Yeah, but sometimes that can get nailed by the fish. Like everyone stresses about that. It's going to hit the teaser in front or hit the swivel or hit this or hit that. It's very rare. Wahoo will, but Spanish, not too much. Yep. Okay, any questions on the bait so far? So this is all for trolling, guys, okay? So the big rigs, obviously Spanish, little rigs, spotties. I've caught lots of spotties. My best spotty times ever has been actually when it's cloudy and raining, particularly at Mermaid. So a lot of guys say, oh, it's got to be sunshine to be able to see it. That's all bull crap. It can be pissing down rain and as long as it's not too rough and really dark, and you'll smash them, you know. So don't worry about the sunshine aspect of things.
What
And-
about water clarity? Do you think that?
Yeah, it does. So the water at the moment, it wasn't too bad. I thought it was not too bad this morning. I said it's too, the water looks good, but when we were out there this afternoon, I got to see what really colour it was because we're back in at 7:30, so, or 7:15. But it was a little bit dirty, like a little bit greeny, sort of clear, if that makes sense. It's not super clear, but the fish are biting their heads off, so, yeah, or they are out there. And as I say always, the mackerel always start down palmy, then Mermaid normally does really well, but this year Mermaid's been very quiet, eh? I don't know what's going on yet. Maybe they're late goer. And we've had some of our best spotty catches at Mermaid, like in June or May. So I wouldn't count it out yet. I think it's time's just not happened yet. Spanish mackerel, by far the last quite a few years, it's been Southport is always the last to start, but lasts the longest and has the best fish and the most fish. So our Southport just started more or less this week, and it'll run until April, May.
Yep.
But the fish are easy to catch now because they haven't seen much boat traffic and they're not scared of what's happening around them. But within a few weeks, they will get to talk to each other or something. Spread the word around that. Watch out for those people up there. I think they talk. Every fish talks. So we've done the leaders. We've done the wire. So stelling hooks. When I use my little float line rig, which is, well, actually we'll keep going trolling so a bit further. Go a bit further on trolling. This is a bigger rig.
So this is a bigger rig with one treble W or two?
One, maybe, not sure.
So our little rig we tie on multi-strand wire. This one's on single strand.
Yeah.
So just more haywire twists, just a different way of connecting them.
So as you were saying before, mate, you might put your sinker but just above that. So you can run wire.
Yeah.
He's running wire instead of mono. But I'd probably run a little short stretch of wire like was on the other one, then run your mono, or you run a bit longer bit of wire like that.
Because I always use multi-strand, so when I'm standing, I don't use single strand.
Right, okay.
I always use a bit more.
Yeah, a bit more, yeah.
More movement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The longer it is, the more movement it has. Yeah.
Would you use multi-strand on these, or would you always stick to single?
You can't get that haywire twist on a multi-strand.
To use
Oh,
your
sorry,
nose
the
cone.
nose cone, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just because of the
Yeah.
tag and
Mm. So everyone uses single strand.
yeah.
Yeah.
You probably could if you'd use the copper wire instead, just to wrap it around the head. But yeah, that's an easier option.
If you do use skirts, it's really important to understand the size of the bait you're using. So those skirts going around in that bigger rig that you got in your bag, that's the smallest skirt as we use. Was it that size using those? Or
So that's like a pilly rig one.
Yeah.
And that's like the bigger rig.
So it's a bit fatter to go for a bit bigger bait. Otherwise you can't get it over, then that can go to the side and then the water goes to the mouth and then it blows up and your bait gets pulled apart. When you're bait trolling too, I don't know how fish do it without missing the hooks, but you've got to watch your rods all the time. Someone's got to be watching your rods when you're trolling. It's different with lures because you're going so fast, you hear that it's like, like it'll be the noise or they'll scream off with it. When you're trolling baits, sometimes you can just be a little tap and then you keep trolling for another hour and you're winding your bait's gone, it's just gang hooks and you think, shit, I'm going home now. So you've used your time up trolling nothing. So periodically check your baits and make sure someone, if you've got a guy with you, have him looking back and just watch the rod tip. If you see just something, wherever it might be, check your line. If you can get hook up, wind in, check it. Okay. With your baits too, they run a lot further out than your lures. So I'll be running the pilly ones when I'm down at Mermaid and that, and the things are a little bit quiet. I'll have them 120 metres back, like a long way back. Okay, so from here to the car park entrance. You just got to make sure that idiot runs over them. Okay. Today, I'm not saying any of you guys there watching, but today, you know, you're going in a straight line. You rarely troll like that with baits. You line up your next mark like that, and you head to it. But today, if you troll along and there's another guy over there sort of come like this, and then normally each would go like that. But today there's so many people, we just stop and let them cross in front of us. I don't know why they do that, but anyhow, part of the parcel.
If you gear up going higher, going for Wahoo, how do you just go bigger?
So with Wahoo, the trouble with baits is you can't, Wahoo, the speed has to be around 8 to 10 knots really to get it right. But as I said the other day, I got bitten off I think by Wahoo and I was only doing 2 knots, 2 knot or 1 knot, very slow. But you can't troll baits really fast because they get, the water pressure just blows them apart.
Blow apart.
Yeah. So you go to lures. Yep. Any questions on the baits, guys? Okay. So run your first one. If you're trolling for Spanish, I stagger mine more in depth than in length. Does that make sense? So the deeper they are, the shorter they are. So the bigger the sinker, the shorter. The less sinker, the longer. Okay. And the close one was obviously Downrigger. So for those of you who don't know how Downrigger works is, sorry Stu. Downriggers are very productive. We used to sell a cheap one that was about $298 or something, or $300, but they stopped making it, and now they do this other one that's like the Scotty style, which is like on top, and they're really pigs of things to use. Sorry about that, guys, but they're really hard to use. You've got to use the one that's like a deck winch style, you know. And how it works is the handle, the more you wind it forward, the more pressure it puts on the spool and takes up and pulls it up, pulls at the weight. And to drop it down, you just wind the handle backwards and it releases it and it falls down. But it goes down quick because you've got a 10-pound weight hanging off it. But how it works is, this is your boat here like this, and this is your rod here, and this is your downrigger here. And what you do is you let out maybe 20 metres or 40 metres at the max of line out. That's your bait swimming, right? And then you grab your line here and you pull it down and you put just a rubber band onto your line, which we can show you how to do. And then on the end of the weight, which is sitting on this thing here, it's got a weight on like this. There's a little loop on there, and on the end that's a little bit of a tag line. You can get clips, but clips are not really the best. Just a little bit of Dacron strings to go, and it's only about 30 centimetres long. And what you do is that rubber band you pull down to here. Obviously this is all back here in the boat, not you can't reach out that far. And you attach the tag line through the rubber band, the loop rubber band, thanks mate, through the loop rubber band, and then just do like a half hitch, so it just all pulls apart when the fish hits, right? And the rubber band will snap. And then you put your hand on the spool of the reel, the ratchet on your reel, and then you slowly, the handle on here, you slowly wind that back until the tension's just right. Don't go back too fast, it'll go zip and get a massive overrun and burn the thumb. So, and you let your line just go down, and this will then get pulled down. This is the bottom here. So this, and you want it, that's say 40 metres deep. You want it about 28, 30 metres. So that this will go down, 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 down. This will come down with it. And have your weight down here. And this line will now be tag line under here and sitting out there. That's got your bait on here. And this line here, this will disappear. And that'll be hooked up to the front there. Okay, so this disappears. And it's attached. So So this rod now, you load your rod up with the weight of the ball, and that's sitting, like that's how your line sort of goes, like that sort of thing.
And then you said 40 metres, but
If you're in 40 metres deep, I drop it down about 28 or 30.
the distance.
Oh yeah, anywhere from about, the closer I've probably ever done is about 10. That's when the fish are on and they're all sharky. I want to get them to the boat a bit quicker. But to give it plenty of movement, like 20 to 40 metres, something in that bracket. Yeah, first. And then that's on this tag line. And this is loaded up with the weight of that downrigger. And if it's, if your rod's just sitting up like that, it doesn't work very well because it can hit it and you might not even know it's hit. But the secret with downriggers is it's the other way around to normal fishing. So the rod's loaded up like that, and when you get a strike, this actually pops up straight like that. That's when you got a strike. But it goes loose.
Yeah, it's just because you got this setback here. So
Yeah.
if that gets pulled out, then you've got all that extra line.
It takes up.
So that's why it's straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite way. So the rod's bent and pops up, not straight and goes down. Yeah, that's how it works, and it works really well. And if you've got the paravane, like Graham's got there, the paravane will probably be a bit more of an angle. If Graham's going to run on another rod, it'll probably sit out, I'm guessing Graham, somewhere around that angle out there, sort of thing.
45.
About 45, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it will get down there. It'll get down there. If you're running a lead line, say running about an 8 ounce barrel, which is we're out of stock of at the moment, that's about that size, literally. My rod would be sitting at probably about that angle behind the boat, and it'll probably get down around 20 metres at least. Slow troll. If I'm running a 4 ounce, that'll alter to probably about that line, and if I'm running that, just the weight of what's on the little rig, it'll probably be something like about that, and that's the surface up here sort of thing. And so that one there is going to be positioned the closest, so I'm not using a downrigger. That one will be probably about there, that one will probably be about there, and that one will probably be out there somewhere. And that's how you do it. For those who are on there can see that. I hope you can. But that's how it works there. It's just like your lures. The lures are the same deal. You put your deepest divers in closer and your shallow ones further out the back.
Just a really quick one on the downriggers as well. If you ever do get one, they normally come with like wire on them. Take the wire straight off and put a braid on it. So wire does make a noise underwater. It sings and everything just pisses off once it hears it.
Yeah, it sings, and it also, if you got a bait that fouls up, particularly if you drop another line and it hooks up on the way through onto this, it twists, and then when you wind up, it's all twisted because the weight's actually twisted under the water, and it keeps twisting, and then your wire's rat shit. Dacron doesn't do that. Or sorry, braid. Sorry, whatever it is. That's the wrong one. Sorry, I'll get that later.
Yeah, and braid's very thin too, so there's minimal drag. It's very strong, so it's all right.
But you use about 100 pounds, 150 pounds, okay? Or 200 on a downrigger. Okay, so any questions on that trolling aspect so far? Okay, just when you, well, before we go to float line, we'll just kick on the trolling. But you need to, as I said, it's a bit like on your GPS plotter. Please understand, you need to know the current, you need to know the wind and everything, and work out your area. So if you get a little fish icon there, a little fish icon there, another one over here, another one over here, and maybe one over here, and maybe that's 2 kilometres in size on your plotter there. So, and the current's going that way, but today it didn't really matter because there wasn't much current. But what I would do is, if I'm trolling out the current, I'll put my lines out about here somewhere, and I will go in this direction and try and run over all of those. And if I've got a couple of marks in here, at that point there, when I go past that, I go past it first, then I'll do a big swing around, and that's when you get a lot of fish on when you do the turn, because your baits drop down, especially when you're down in shallow water, down Palmy and Mermaid. And then I'll go that way, which is normally when the guys come this way and cut him off, which is what happened today, I guess, to me and the other guys. And then I'll go past that, and then I'll do a Yui, and I'll probably go back over again. And then I might have a couple of marks maybe in here and that one there. So I might come to there, and then I might just go to that one there and then across like that. I just try and line up everything and work out where the fish are. But I've marked all that first with my divers on, zooming around, trying to find where those fish are stacked. At 6 knots, you can generally get a pretty good reading, or 7 knots. When you go real slow though, that's when you really mark them. You mark them much better. And you might think, and sometimes you, by default, you might, instead of going like that, you might just decide to go out here for a bit of a wonder, and all of a sudden you see fish stacked up in the sound, and so you mark that there, you know. And then you'll change your next route, maybe this way, down to here, like that. You just got to play around. Like today, this afternoon, we're only out there for, I think, trolling time, maybe less than 2 hours, hour and a half. And I think we did 19 kilometres in like just under 2 hours. Just going round. But what we did was, mate's going to kill me for this one, but I had some marks on my GPS that I hadn't fished for a little while, and this is where all our marks were down here, sort of thing. Little fish there, and maybe a little D there, or whatever. And this might be now 5 kilometres. And we had some marks in here, and a couple of marks out here, like that, and a couple up here. And what we did was, this morning we did here, and then this afternoon went back and I tried again, and my mate just got 2 fish there, but the sharks come in today. He got 5 heads back with it.
Yep.
5 mackerel heads and 1 tail, so he got the tail. But anyhow, the sharks smashed him. So we had a quick go there, and we thought, no, I'm getting out of here before we can get done. So we actually ventured this way, and we had to go around here, and we didn't have much luck. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go out to here. Actually, it might have been down this way a bit more, sorry. Like that. And on the way to here, I don't know if I'd not gone over this ground before or what, but we found the mackerel stacked. And that's when we got a double hook up. We actually got a hook 4 fish and got 2 in off that, that little escapade there. And that was right. We never even got to this mark at this stage. It was there, so we did a couple laps around there, and they were there. And they're probably there because there was no one there in the morning, but there was 20 or 30 boats down here, even though it's only a K away. And then we went out to here. There wasn't many mackerel stacked out there. We believe I got too far. So we then went back into here, and then we went on that same line, which is a similar line to here, so you get where I'm coming from. So if I had more time, I would have liked to go on all the way down on that run, but we didn't actually try into this area here. We went up to here, and just before we got there, that's when we saw them stacked up on the sand like that. That's when we got the triple hook up, and we just did 1 lap, and we had 4 fish, and that was like enough for us, and time was the essence, so we come back. But at the moment, they seem to be sitting in the middle of the diamond reef, not the outside edges so much, but in the middle. And I've got some really good marks just south a bit of the diamond. Tomorrow or Saturday, if we get out, I probably would have a look down that area, because there's no one down there today. They all stopped here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're feeding along that whole line there. Yep. So just got to work it out. Just another thing too, in troll and live baits, there's you all know what sabiki rods are. They're the rods that the line goes down through the centre. We normally have them here, but we've sold out, and we're still waiting for our stock to turn up, which hopefully maybe tomorrow, but I doubt it. It could be, maybe. But when you does anyone know how to catch bait okay? There's an art to catching bait, you know. I don't know if you guys know it. Some days they're on the easy and you can catch it easy, but not always. Even the best people can't catch them sometimes. Oh, sometimes you go there, but they're generally little ones there. Yeah. You want to get a bit bigger ones. So generally where you are, there'll be, like there's heaps of bait stacked out in certain areas today, out there. So, and the bait's generally better quality, bigger slimies or whatever it might be, bigger yakkers. So when you're using a bait jig, guys, just trying to help you out on a little point. How many bait jig is in this trip? Out there, yep. So when you use a bait jig, I find the bait jigs with the rainbow film, I'll pass this around, works the best. But sometimes they don't want to know about that. They want like feather style. I do really like those too. I'll pass those both around. Or a white one, or an expensive one. But when you're bait jigging, try and use a coloured braid. That's a really good help. Every 10 metres, and you see on your screen, you're in 40 metres. The bait's about 18 to 30 metres down. That's schooled up in that area, so you count the colours out. Make sure the boat has no momentum forward. You want it to be sitting dead straight. And when you've counted that first colour out, and then your second colour's just come up to the end, so you're now at 20 metres, you know you're in the zone. At that point there, if I'm using an egg beater, I'll grab the line as it's slipping through my hand. So I'm using like a 4-ounce sinker or a 6-ounce or an 8-ounce. I grab it, I let it go, grab it, let it go, grab it. And so it's like dum, 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 through that next 10 metres, which is where they are, and it just loads up. If you let it just shoot through them, and then you try and just jerk the slack or bring it back up through them, you'll get nowhere near the amount of fish. So make it work in that zone by grabbing the line. So if you're using it overhead, just keep putting your thumb on the spill, take off.
So I prefer to grab it on the way down than the way up.
They 100%, mate, 100%. But we all tend to try and get them on the way up because you're trying to get the line back up to the bait fish, you know. But go down is much better, and pausing it through the bait, just momentarily for half a second. Just stop. Yeah.
Sinker or something?
We need a little bit of sinker to make that work. If you've got just a little sinker, it won't do that job. It'll just won't do anything.
Yeah.
So it needs to go quite quick through it. So a bit bigger than normal is probably even better.
Yeah.
So when we're at like Spot X and that, we use like a pound of lead or 3/4 pound, 12-ounce, doing the same scenario. Current as well, and wind, a lot of factors in it. Sometimes a good backup as well to get the bait. But just try that. And then the other thing too, which Stewie does a lot, is he's a bit of an S factor man. He puts his S factor on the
I always
boat.
put scent on them. Always.
If they're not biting.
If they're not biting, yeah.
Yeah. So put S factor on your little
On the little
hooks.
feather and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It
Yeah.
just holds in the feathers really good, and yeah, bit of added smell. Some guys use squid, but then you got to take bait and all that
You
stuff.
get lots of little flatties,
You do.
and they spike you.
And little whiting.
Everybody used these before? Anyone used that before?
I was
So-
going to say, is this the get it off?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no, there's nothing worse than those things.
Mate, have you tried these?
No.
No. I was in there trying to grab them off.
Yeah.
I know. So two things. Yakkers spike the crap out of you in here, right? You try and grab them, they spike you. Plus you kill them because you're taking the slime off them, whatever. This thing here, you just hold it above the bait tank and you just go like that. Just hook it onto the line, the branch off the side, and just flip it like that. And they just come straight off. So it's like a hook out thing you use up north on the reef fish, the smaller version. And the cheapest chips, like $5 your price. Handy tool. Bait net. Make sure you got a bait scoop. You all know how hard it is to catch a bait in a tank by hand. You just can't. And you get spiked again.
Yeah.
That's right. And your glasses fall off the tank and you get all wet and messy or whatever. Just get yourself a bait scoop. Just trying to help you out. For those of you who don't have a bait tank, you'll need to have a bucket, and probably at least a 20-litre bucket, or a drum or something like that. You need to have an aerator, okay? You know about aerators, Tommy, for jacks? Oh, you got a bait tank problem, isn't it? Oh, there you go. So you need an aerator of some description just to help you, and change the water all the time as well.
You want a cheap alternative? I bought a blue drum.
Yep, with the screw lid.
Country.
Yep.
Pharmaceutical companies getting the 30-litre ones, which are perfect size.
Yep.
You get it for $20. And you just drill some holes.
Yeah. Okay. So you got that, guys. So Tom was just saying to buy the 30-litre drum if you don't have a bait tank on your boat.
Blue drums, yeah.
Yeah, the screw lid.
Plastic drums.
Yep. And just drill a hole for your hose to go through, and just sit your aerator on the outside. Obviously, don't sit those underwater. Although we do have ones downstairs you can throw into the water, and they also cool it and circulate it.
And you can use it for a live one as well.
Yep.
If you've got a pump, you can just connect it to the rod.
Yep. To plumb it up with the skin fitting. Yeah. Yep.
Is it around? Real more chance to keep your slimies alive too.
Slime is the worst,
Yeah.
mate. They die so
In
quick.
the square ones, they just get
Yeah.
sucked in the can't
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they need a round tank.
It's got to be a round tank,
Yeah.
yeah. They go around circles. Okay, that's probably about it on that side of things. Any questions on trolling?
Have you got the hard bodies?
Okay, we're going to talk about
Oh,
just
yeah.
a little bit. I'll do it last if that's okay. Yeah, I'll kick out on the bait and then we'll get that out of the way. Then we'll do the hard body a little bit. So that's all good there. Your liveys are all good. Just when you hold your liveys in the hand to put the hooks in, you can't really do much. But if you've got a little bit of wet towel in your hand, it's a lot easier. And they'll sort of sit there. They're happy, and they won't try and squirt and jump out of your hand all the time, whatever, and spike you. And not that I know how they go to get the hook in, but they don't seem to mind it. And they do mind it, but they don't react as bad. Anyhow, all good. Guys, with mackerel, make sure you got a good set of pliers. Like today, we had so much drama getting some of the hooks out. You got big teeth. Donger, pliers. Okay. Throat. That's the three moves.
It. Yeah.
Oh, gaff's the first one, sorry. When you're using gaff too, guys, just gaff with your fish. Today I was taking some wild swings because sometimes we had 2 or 3 fish around the boat. So any swing's a good swing as long as the fish comes in the boat. But always go over the top. I like to go to the top. I pull the fish towards me. I'm under it and into the boat. Make sure your gaff sharp. Make sure it's not slippery. It'll slip over your hand, take off with the gaff. Happens a lot. Took your cobia. And make sure your gaff's long enough to be able to reach the other side of the boat. If you've got it in a kayak or a jet ski, any guys in jet skis or kayaks? A few of you are. So make sure it's about probably that long, maximum. Short. And a lot of guys in jet skis don't like to carry gaffs, they'll grab by the tail. Probably grab by the tail as the head tries to bite you. So just be careful. Okay? Especially if you put them between your legs. Rod belt. Hey, like today we didn't use a rod belt, but depends. Some people might like it for comfort. Mackerel, the bigger ones do go hard, and if you caught 2 or 3 in a row, you do get a bit tender. You only need like $20 one. That's all you need. Just get yourself something that's going to be a bit easy for you. That's probably all the tools I think. Do anything else? That's about it.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. Like there's no real specialty tools or anything like that. But
just what I was saying on that live bait rig too. Don't use too big a treble. We've seen some guys will bring their rigs into us. And they're like 4.0, 5.0 trebles on it. They're way too big, and that will make it not swim properly. So you want it strong, small, and compact. So size 1 or size 2. 1.0 is the biggest I'd use, even on a tail that big. But yeah, generally 1 or 2. I'll pass those around too. They're really sharp and really strong. Swivels. Try and use as small a swivel as you can, but as strong as you can. So the less drag and air bubbles and whatever is the better. That's probably about it, I think. I was going to say before about snelling hooks on. So I think we've got a thing on YouTube. Watch how I do it, and snell your 2 hooks together when you're using for float line, which we'll talk about in a moment. But learn how to snell your hooks also for rigging up some of the baits as well for trolling. Okay, that's pretty easy. That's about it on that. Okay, we'll go to float lining. So trolling's all good. Everyone's down pat? Cool. Happy days. Okay, so float lining. Float lining's done in 3 ways. One is drifting, one is at anchor, and other way can be like burling up and burling up and burling up, either at drift or at anchor, and you can actually obviously cast metals in there as well, but fish float lining as well at the same time. So depends on which way you want to go, but if you just want to dedicate yourself to float lining, I'd say definitely anchor up, definitely burley up, and do the casting, all the float lining at the same time. That's the best way I find. If you drift and it's hard to burley, because the burley, it does attract it for a bit, but they tend to go away with it if there's too much burley. Or they maybe you drift past another guy's boat and he's burling up more than you are, and they'll go from your boat to his boat. That does happen. So if you anchor, they're your domain. They stay with you until someone drops anchor next to you. I might go over to him then. So the rigs we use are very small and very petite. Somewhere here, that's M-Stewie. So this is a single rig that we use. This is a basic one, but it works really well. It's this light wire with a 2.0 or 3.0. I really like 2.0 hooks. It's my favourite size because they get right down their gills. They take the whole lot down. You never lose a fish by the hook not hooking up. And we snell these on and crimp the top part of the swivel on, and we put a little figure 8 knot on the swivel. So if you do a dodgy crimp, I hope you guys don't do a dodgy crimp job, but if you do, the weight's on the knot and not the crimp. So if it pulls out through the crimp, it still won't fall apart. It's a safety thing, okay? And the hook snelled on works really well. Stewie does these ones, I think. Do you get Stewie?
We do. Yep.
Is that your job?
That's mine. Very neat.
Can I check it?
Yep.
Sorry. It's good, mate. Do you want to pass that around?
No, very good one.
I got to go around?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So there is an art to putting your bait on. Stewie, you going to say something?
And size wire's lighter. So heaps lighter, single, multi-strand, around 18 or 25 pounds.
Yeah, 18,
Fairly light.
18 to 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Don't go above 30. You will get bitten off occasionally, and that could be by a Spanish or a big spotty, but you get heaps more bites. Okay?
What size squiggle is on there?
They're about a size 8 or a 10 crane, but they're a really strong one. Yeah, so we got...
Yeah, I think they're rated for about like 30 or 40 kilo, like that strong ass.
Yeah, so this is Centro, the company that makes this product for us, Optia. These are the world's best swivels, and they are very, very good. A lot of different companies, high-end companies, use them and put their branding on it. We do it direct to the factory as well. So that little one there is, I'll pass that around, it's 20 kilos, and then that's the mid version. There's one downstairs that about that size, about 38 kilo. That's all stainless steel one. Yeah, they're really good, and they don't ever like get locked up. They just spin beautiful all the time, even 5 years old. Worth paying the extra $1 or $2 or $3. So this is your standard type one here, which still work very well. Don't get me wrong; these work well too. They're 18 kilos, but they're not the quality of that one going around. But they're double the price. Hook wise, these are one of my favourite hooks. These are made by BKK. They're a Shinto product. Extremely sharp. They use Japanese steel, not Chinese steel, and they are exceptionally good hook and value wise too. There's 50 in the box. Same grade as Gamakatsu Octopus. Same steel, same everything. But about half the price. I'll pass that around too. That's another one. You give those pre-made.
Can I pass it?
Yeah. So just getting back to before, guys. This is another company that we make them up too, but these are done in China. I think so they're a bit cheaper, but they seem to be. There's been no complaints yet. We've been selling for 2 seasons now, and they're a live bait rig. Okay. Rig one up, Stu?
You can bring it.
So there, that's a floater one.
This is a floater one. Yeah, so
Is that a floater for a live?
floater for a pilchard. A live we use exactly the same rig as we are for trolling. No different. So guys, when they say float lining, like you see the guys using foam down there. I don't know if some of you guys use foam. It works well, but it's not really good for the environment. We're all fishermen, but we're sort of semi-greeny. I would suggest not using it. Though it works really well. There's 2 methods you can use. I didn't bring it up to show you downstairs, but we sell floats, and you buy a stopper bead float system thing, cheap as $3 a packet or $4 a packet, and you put the bead onto your leader. Now the leader I'm using here is not 50 pound. I'm using about 25 pound fluoro or 30, somewhere in there, and about 1.5 meters of it, roughly speaking. And I put my bead onto the to the 25 pound leader, and then I put my float onto the leader, and then I tie that onto it. So the float sits directly above that, but your bead is your depth adjuster. So it's a little tiny silicone rubber bead thing about the size of a matchstick head. Exactly,
Yeah,
right,
it's just
perfect.
a float
But a bit
stopper.
bigger size. So sometimes the float's a bit bigger, bigger holes to the centre. And then you just slide it up to whatever depth you want. So the fish are like 2 metres down, you'll need to slide your bead up 2 metres. It'll still cast out through your rod, okay? And then the float just goes up and hits the bead, and that's it, and that sits down there. Now the problem you're going to have is that anchor, you're going to have a bit of current. Some days then the current's ripping, and not at the moment, but when it is ripping, you need to put a little tiny ball sinker, like a 0 ball or a 00 ball, below this float, above the swivel. Okay? And that'll just hold it down below the float, otherwise that'll come up like that in the current. That's too high up. So you need to keep it down a bit. So just remember that little trick.
How far down do you have it floating to?
Yeah, that's a real good question. And I've caught a lot of spotties, particularly mermaid, that have been, it's about, I think, 16 to 20 metres deep there, so it depends where you are on the reef. And sometimes they've been on the bottom, Graham. They won't touch anything up halfway. So I'm using a 2 ball or a 3 ball and getting it down there, then I get all the bloody red scorpion cod driving me crazy. Yeah, but that's where it is sometimes. You'll see the fish on the sounder, mate. It's all relevant to where they're sitting. Sometimes they're a bit different to Spanish mackerel. Sometimes they don't want to come up to the top. But if there's bait there and they force the bait to the top, they'll come to the top. Yeah. So spotties are like a jewie or some other species of fish that tend to be a really big school, and they tend to just go around big circles around all the boats. So they're not just going to sit in one position like snapper and stay there. They mingle. And they follow the bait, whether they're following the bait or whether they're just in a cycle, I don't know what it is. But it's a typical thing, especially at Palmy and Mermaid. You've got 100 boats there, and you'll see those 10 boats ratchets go off, and next to it, a minute later, the guys in front of them, their ratchets go off, and then eventually it gets down to you, unless you're not sitting in the circle properly. Yeah, so this is the rig we use, and I'm using, I like bait runners. I didn't show the bait runner combo there, Stewie, sorry. Yep. Bait runners are really good for float lining because you can set it in free spool and they scream off, and just turn the handle and bingo, you got it. Something like that sort of thing there, or a lot lighter than that. That's as heavy as I'd use, which is 8,000 bait runner, and the rod's sort of 6 to 10 kilo solid tip. To be honest, I use my flathead rods for spotties. I like to have a bit of fun. 15-pound braid, and just running a 2,500 to 4,000 size reel, and a carbon rod, and let it scream. Works really well. And the bait gets down a lot easier with only 15-pound braid on. Just goes straight down to the bottom nearly. So yeah, try have a bit of fun. Putting a pilly on. There's 2 ways of putting a pilly on. There's 2 different ends of pilly, obviously. I don't use the middle section. I either use the front or the back. Okay, I don't have it. I do. Sorry. I'm going to do our natural way. Thanks, Drew. You're well prepared, mate.
Yeah.
So I just cut it on an angle, guys. A little bit of an angle. So the front part there, I just do it basic as. I do use that bait mate. Does anyone use a bait mate? That stretchy white
Yeah, it's
stuff?
like cotton stuff.
Do you mind to grab some, Stu? If you don't mind, is that all right, mate? Sorry, I'll get Stu to go grab some. But I just go through the eye.
There you go.
I pull the hook out the other side. And I just turn the pilly over. Doesn't matter if its eye falls out, and just dig it into the body. But I put it up fairly close to the where you cut it, not back towards the head way. You'll notice if you ever get it. If you're using a half pilly, the head always comes back and they always eat down the bottom end further. They never eat much up here, so get the hook way down close to that bottom end down there. Get rid of that eye off there maybe. Doesn't make a bit of burly. But as soon as you pull on that, it seems to just sit right. Because you're using such light line, it doesn't get any like drag on it, does that make sense? If you're using too heavy a line, it'll get drag and bend the head and then it'll spin. And they don't like spinning baits, they hate it. So it has to be as natural as ever. If you are using a heavy line, this stuff will cure that. So this stuff here is visible now, but it's not visible when you put it on the bait, thanks Drew. So all you do with this stuff here, you just sort of start it off, whichever way you want to do it. I normally actually hold the reel and do it, but that's all right, Stu just pulls off for me. Sabotage. Sorry, Stu. I want it back
You
on.
do it properly.
I want it back on. Thanks for helping me. So I'll just hold like that and I'll just wrap it around. However way you want to do it. And it looks like Gulliver's about to be tied down to the ground by the little tiny guys. There's stuff all over him. But it works really well. And then you just sort of, it's cheap as, yeah. You just break it off and it doesn't undo. And I know the bait looks a bit dodgy there, and I hate that hanging at the bottom of baits to get rid of that. Always get rid of that, eh? They don't like it. So it just looks like so. It's a bit stretched there, but they don't care. When you're dicing up bait and that's in the water, they'll just go hard on it, you know. So in the eye, out the other side, just dig it in, simple as that. And I'll slice it up for you, very small slithers, different to that size there. And with the tail section, I just go through the tail like so. I try not to use that thread, okay? So that's like the extreme worst case scenario ugly bait you throw out. Try not to use it at all. Oh, nice too. So with the tail, I go through about that point there, right next to the bone, sort of about maybe a centimetre down from his tail. Okay, same deal. Just pull it out, dig it in. Make sure you don't have any scales on the end of the hook. Now my hook is very slightly exposed on the other side, but it's not sticking out at all. Oops, that's all right. And then with this part here, you can do two things. You can do like a half hitch and pull it out of the top here, and then just pull it tight, but it will bend up your line, but your bait sits much better. Okay, and it doesn't spin. Or you can use again this stuff here.
Same thing, you just put a weight on that?
Weight just above it, same scenario, my friend, yeah. Let's go the wrong way around. Just go up as high as you can on that line, so you get it tighter in the tail there. And when this is in the water, this stuff sort of goes like a purpley colour, and you don't see it. Like you can see it now, but when it's wet, you don't see it. It looks like blood colour now next to it. And that's if you want to use that stuff, but I try not to use it, okay? But it is really good when you have to use it. I think it's like, I don't know how much is it, Stu?
It's cheap.
Like $6 for two or something like that.
Why would you have to use it?
Because sometimes if you've got a little bit of current, where the wire hits where it goes into the body or the tail, whatever, the current forces it out a little bit and then it spins in the current. And trust me, it spins. The more you can keep it tight and just have it sitting in the current like that, you get a lot more bites. It's all about presentation to get more bites, guys. The guy that's sitting there catching nothing, it's either got his bait spinning, or they're up on the surface spinning, or they're not down where the zone is. There's a lot of factors that make your fishing much better.
You can use that one with gang hooks or whatever.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
But with gang hooks, you don't really need to, because it's pulled from the eye area, you don't really need to put that stuff on it. Yeah, with single hooks you do. Yeah. With two snelled hooks, I don't use it at all, because especially the tail, I put the hook that's closest attached to where the swivel is, goes right through where the tail joins on there. So it sits, that's the point part. So it's sitting on there, it can't flange at all because it's tucked in there. On the head part, I put one hook in the side and the top hook that's attached to where the swivel is. And I put in here and out there. The same deal again, it can't go anywhere, so you don't need to use it at all. So when you use snelled hooks, guys, for float lining for spotties, your hookup rate's so much better. Like they're still very good with single hooks. These like those little 2-0s. Some guys use 4-0s and 5-0s, and they miss a lot of fish. And the hook's very sticking out proud of the bait. They don't like it sometimes. But the 2-0s or 3-0s, it's very hidden in the bait. And as I said, they swallow the whole thing down. It's right down the gills. Every time it's down the gills. The problem is you probably know if you caught fish on spotties on baits, is that the wire becomes pigtaily, and you can't use it again. They don't like it. So you need to make up a lot of rigs. If the spotties are on, you need 15, 20 rigs on your boat. pre-made, because you haven't got time to make it up when you're out there. And a lot of guys will say to use single strand for float lining. I don't really like it. The bait doesn't sit as natural. It tends to be
Yeah, it's a bit
stiff.
yeah.
Stiff, yeah. I don't like to use it, but some guys do, and they do it right. Okay. Any questions on the bait presentation side of it? All good? Okay, so when I'm float lining, if I've marked, just imagine that the bottom's on the bottom is like this, a bit of rubble, and there's a lot of bait there, similar to before, and I can see the mackerel just stacked up here somewhere, spotties, whatever, maybe amongst here. I'll try, and the current's going again that way, I'll try and sit my boat somewhere pretty close, because it's only shallow, right? So my boat will be sitting here, or even a bit closer here, depending on the current. And my lines, I'm casting, there's a bit of current going that way, just a little bit. I'll cast in that direction there. I will drop a couple of lines straight out the back with a tiny bit of weight on them. These ones maybe have no weight. I'll put 4 lines out, another one out there, another one just there. And obviously those fish are behind here. And those guys will go down pretty quick with no float on. These ones here may have a float, or they'll just be non-float. I try to use no float. So no sinker, no float is my favourite. Just the bait. And I try and get them all in that zone. So when you reverse that around, and now the boat's sitting, it's the top there and the boat's sitting up on here. I try and have my lines there, sort of in this zone, you know, all in that area there, and they'll come up to it. But as I was saying before, Graham, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're a bit fussy. You got to work it out on the day. So drop one down the bottom. If he's going to get those red cod things all the time, then you just got to wind the line up a bit and wait for them to come to you, maybe. Because sometimes you can't get a line down because the little fish annoy the crap out of your tail line and whatever else. Yeah, but this is enclosed, so you're talking sub 20 metres normally. The place we do get mackerel at the front here and at the gravel patch sometimes, you're fishing in 30 to 34 metres, so that's a bit deeper, and you will need to use like 1 ball or 2 ball sinkers to get your lines down. Sometimes they come to the top, but generally you need a bit of weight to get it down the zone. And I'll be spinning, so I'll get to the burley in a sec, but because you're burling up all the time and throwing it out, as soon as you burley up, that's when you get the fish. They come. Every time you throw a burley out, you're going to get a strike. As simple as that. So you just got to keep working on the burley, working on it. So, you know, go through a block of pillies easy, burling up. And you don't need good pillies for burling up, but we don't want too soft either. But when you're burling up the pilchard, my burley, I'll cut the head. Sometimes I'll cut the head too, but my slithers are very, very small. And I'll try and get like 10 or 15 out of a pilchard, depending on the size. And when you catch the fish and you gut them, they've all got your pilchard inside, all your neighbours. So the slithers are like that sort of size, if you can see that. So like that size.
Send it around, mate.
Is that around? Yes. Okay, it's a bit messed up now.
It's like a little entree, mate. Or a little plate.
I've counted how many pieces are there when it all come back, okay? I got some leftover sandwiches if you're really hungry for later.
And the speed, quantity that you put out?
The speed to put it out? The quantity? Okay, I work it out. My side 2 handfuls, my mate's side 1. No, I put out like chunk, but I tend to go more of my side. Yeah. So, but I'm doing that about I've always got to cut up. I cut up. Hopefully your lines are going great. You don't have time to cut up. That's what you want. But when you get the system going, it's all happening, and you get the odd fish and stuff like that. As soon as you get that quiet period that's more quieter than normal, you burley up again straight away, and try and keep them going. Yep. And there've been times when they will stay. Like I said, they move around all the time, but Sometimes there's been times where we've burled up a lot and we've held them in the ground for an hour or two. And got a lot, you know. Thanks, mate. There's one piece missing. There we go. Okay, guys. So that's your burley scenario. Okay. Any questions on that at all? So the best places to catch spotties, as I said, are sub 20 metres. 12 fathoms out the front here, even just north of near the jetty when they're here. Definitely mermaid, definitely palmy, definitely gravel patch, definitely 17 fathoms out the front here. The greatest spots we used to fish before then was up near Korean Cove, but that's green zone now. So you can't fish there anymore, but that was a great spot for spotties. And jumping pin bars, really good area too, but jumping bars is a spinning place, not really a bait place. Because there's so much bait there, that's why there's so much little white bait and stuff. They're feeding on that, they don't want to know about filters really, they want to know about metals or whatever.
What about the new blocks out of Australia?
Yeah, so the new blocks are Australia. You know, I've never caught a mackerel there yet, hey. Got lots to do, but never caught a mackerel there. And like I think every year they've got to be there, you know, Spanish got to be there. There's so much bait there. But has anyone here ever caught a mackerel at the blocks here?
I've heard of the old boys catching
Yeah.
Spanish off the beach, like running the boat.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. They may, but yeah, so, because you can still fish from the beach until you get to, I think, just before Korean Cove, there's a green zone to the high tide mark, all the way to just near Tipplers, I think. That's
Yeah, I
about it.
thought close to the beach was all right.
Yeah,
No.
I thought next to the
There's-
beach was okay.
Yeah.
No, there is one area that's closed off to the high tide mark,
Yeah, right.
or low tide mark, whatever it is. Yeah. I'll check it out for you. But 100% sure there is. And it's about, I think it's around about 1 or 2 k's long. Yeah, but that's the area you get them. The coffee rock goes right in close there to 8 metres deep. And that's where we used to get them years ago. Big Spanish too. That's really good fishing there. 8 to sort of 12 metres. Anyhow, that was the past. That's about it in that sort of stuff. Anything else there, Stu?
No, that's about it.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So guys, the furthest I ever caught a spotty is actually last year I got a spotty at the Fad East. We were fishing a game comp in January. I've never caught a spotty out in 52 metres in my life. I did last year, first time. So they do go wide, and it's a good size, about probably 90 centimetres or a metre, maybe 7 kilo or 6 kilos. So they do go wide, but as I said, spotties come and go. They're here one week and then they're not here for a month. Then they're back again. I think they travel from up north, obviously. Mackerel do tend to come back our way as well, so they'll go down south. They get down as far as Southwest Rocks or whatever it is. They're big down there as well, Red Rock down that way. And then when the current starts to get cold down there, they start to shoot back up our way. And that's when we get a return run in June or May for really big spotties. And keep an eye on our page because we'll tell you when they're on and they come back. And sometimes they'll stay here for a while. If the current's like the temp's like 23 here for a little while, or in May or June, sometimes, last year it stayed quite late. They may stay here till, I've caught them in August. So it depends on the water temp. It can be 10 degrees outside at night time, or 8 degrees, but if the water temp's still 22, 23, they'll stay here. They don't feel the cold air like we do.
Same with the Spanish.
Same with Spanish. Yeah, caught lots of Spanish in July and August over the years. It depends on the water temperature. It's funny, you know, now you...
Later,
Sorry, mate?
bigger. When
They are, yeah, they are. So they tend to be, like years ago, everything was enclosed, 12 fathoms, 18 fathoms, and we never got them out to 24 fathoms until April, May, June. Now they start there in January. Don't know why. So it's changed over the last 20 years. The size can be quite big now, but definitely later in the season, they're big ones here. So I think last year the biggest one we got was about 22 kilo landed, that is. We probably lost bigger. Yeah. This year's only about 12 so far. Any questions on the bait side of things, guys? Do you want me to do a little tiny bit on hard bodies at all? Yep. Yeah. I know. So you need to know about hard bodies anyway, because you're going to do that before you do your bait fishing. That's, as I said, find your grounds. You might as well have hard bodies out while you're looking around trying to find where the mackerel are on the baits. So deep divers, just chuck out 3 is enough probably. 3's a handful, I can tell you that. You want something that gets down deep, so it can do the searching for you. You can take that and pass it around if you want. This is a new colour we got in the strata. These are real. This one was my first one I've used one in this colour, and today it worked quite well. I think this one caught 2 fish, I think. The purple one that we do downstairs, it nailed 2 fish or 3 fish today. Then that was the one that got snapped off when we had the double hook up. So I haven't got that colour here. It's downstairs, so I can pass that around. Mate. The hooks on these are really good, but these get down about 10 metres, guys. They get down really deep, and you can be doing like 12 knots. They'll hang in, they don't blow out, and at 4 knots they've got really good action as well. So that's the sort of thing, that style.
Is that 6.8 control those?
So today was 6.3 to 6.8 knots seemed to be the go. Yep. Yep.
Is that 12 Ks?
About, yes, that's about
Around
right.
about, yeah.
Yep.
Always
Spot
no
on.
triples?
100%. Except for on that first hook in the bait, single hook. No, I've done lots of single hook fishing over the years, and I just don't get the consistency of fish staying attached. Yeah, and those hooks in there are BKK hooks as well. They're very sharp, they're very strong, they're 5X.
Is it a no
No, it's actually one of our own ones. It's a strata, which we've been doing for many years. And we towed that besides Helco today. We didn't get a strike on a Helco. We got 9 fish or something. Oh, no, sorry, we got hooked up 9 fish. We got 4 in. We lost 2 lures and 1 rig this morning. I lost the rig this
And you
morning.
just trawl those in now? Or...
No, when we get out to the area. So don't trawl out to the spot. Get there and then put them out, because time's the essence. So you want to know roughly where the area is and then just trawl. Does anyone here not know where the diamond reef is? You don't know any spots?
We've got some marks.
Yeah.
If you guys just take one and pass
Just
it
pass
on.
them around,
Yeah.
So these areas here are areas we commonly fish, and other people do too, unfortunately, but that'll put you in the zone, guys. And you'll see people trolling around. As I was saying, sometimes the fish will be in that middle area, and sometimes they'll be the north or south of it. So wherever you see the mass of boats is generally where they are, because they've sussed it out and they're catching them.
How far out the battery out the hardbodies?
So the hardbodies are a lot closer than your baits. So you put your furthest lure out first, which might be 60 metres, which will come down to about 40 metres on the boat. And then sort of 60, 40, 30, say, or 45, 30. Yep, and 30 will be about 15 metres on the boat, or 20 metres. Yep.
You want a split ring on them? Just hop on from...
No, so not with those, you don't need to. They have a split ring on the front ready to go. So most of the lures, the old days, they just had a little bit of wire there. These days, most of them come with the split ring.
Don't need to tweak them.
No, they swim straight out of the tube. Yeah.
Just, just can never find a lure that goes real deep, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know.
It seems like
Yeah.
they're on 3 or 4 metres or something.
Yeah, no, they go deep. The rods goes from like that to like that, and they're down there. Yeah. And the other one that's really good, guys, I didn't bring one up here, but I got them downstairs, is samakis, and we caught a couple of fish on samakis today as well. They do really good colour range. Their bib's very similar to the bib on these. They get down about 8 to 12 metres maybe. They get down deep, and they kick butt too. There is a colour that we sold out of, which I've only got one I can show you, but I can't give it to you because it's getting used tomorrow morning. It's a coral trout colour. Now, Stewie loves coral trout colours. He's a flamboyant type guy.
Everyone mocked me at the start, but now it's coming through with the goods. But we'll try to get some more tomorrow.
Yeah, we're trying to get some tomorrow. The people we buy them off a couple of companies. One's the Strata, the one that's coming around now, they do a coral trout colour. It's orange with blue spots. And Samaki do one as well, it's orange with blue spots. It is the killer colour this year. So no matter who's got one at the moment, like all the guys that sent for photos through to us today, that was like the killer colour as well. So, but we sold out today. Do you just want to grab it there? It's in the box out in the side there, mate. I'll pass this around, but I'll have to do the bag check on the way out.
Sorry, mate, I just got it. Yeah, that's right, just on the way past now.
Yes?
How do you
Yeah, good question. So when you get to do a lot of it, it becomes easy. You just know where it is, right? Whether it be lever drag, star drag. But the secret is to not have any line pull out when you're going down a swell or at a bit of speed, whatever.
Sure.
And you don't want it that tight that you can't pull it off the reel yourself. So it's all relevant to the size line you're using too. So it's like when we're using game fishing, 15 kilo, we set the drag at 5 kilos. 24 kilo, 8, and it's always 1/3. But when you're using braid and other types of lines and you're not fishing for game fish and you just want to get the fish in, you can up the ante a little bit more. But generally, if you grab the line and pull it hard, and it's coming off not too bad, that's the spot. But if it's coming off and you go down a swell, or every now and then it just a little bit, it's too loose. You need to crank up just a tiny bit more.
Okay.
But don't over crank it.
Yeah.
Because when you get the hit, it'll snap. Yeah, especially a braid.
Yeah.
Where do you troll braid with mono? Like seriously, I'm 90% braid guy for trolling now. Yeah, I did use that one today, the 25, and it caught fish, but it was on the big samaki, the deepest one I had, and it made it work hard. I did a video today, I'll put up on post another time, but just to show like I had 2 rods out with braid and two with mono, and I believe like I had so many more strikes on the braid than I did to the mono, and my rod's just like going spastic like this, you know, and the mono one's like that. I know it has stretch and takes a bit out of it, but it doesn't give it the same action, and I think that's the secret. So the guys trolling mono may not get the hits that the guys are trolling braid. So I had 2 outs today, 2 and 2. I'd say even when I was trolling the baits, the same scenario, I think one mono line if we hit the whole day because it had a helco on it, and the other one got 2 fish or 1 fish hooked up, but the braids had like 7 hookups, so it's got to be something to it, right? So you feel that lure coming around, you might feel a few teeth marks on it. But that's the colour, guys, that's the sea colour. So that's a samaki, they do a whole range in that colour. We run out today. The problem is the guys in samaki got COVID, so they've closed the joint down so we can't get stuck. So we're trying to get them to get something out tomorrow. We'll see how we go. So, yeah. Good lures, really good lures. They're called pacemaker. We've got a smaller version too. So get your lures out, 60, 40, 25, 30, okay? And troll about 6 to 7 knots. Baits, trolling as slow as you can go. Maximum about, if you're going down swell and with the current, maybe 2 knots max, but try and keep it at 1 knot, 1.2. Drop back to 1 mode if you got to, if you have to. And drop your baits at about, if you're running 3 baits or 4 baits, today we're running them at about probably 80, 60, 40 and 30. 30 is about the closest. Okay.
What's your favourite baits, Hardbodies?
Those and the first one, the blue one going around, that brand. Yeah. We used to do that strata one, the first one going around, the blue one, in a orangey colour, which is similar to that orange there actually, but orange and yellow and dark
like
top.
a matte colour.
Matte colour.
Yeah.
And man, it was like, we've got guys that probably sell their house for one. They're so good, but we just can't get them anymore. Yeah. So
There's a bolt.
Bolt
Bolt
mystique, bolt mystique, yeah.
I wonder why they stopped making that.
It's the same in many things in fishing tackle.
Yeah.
I could write a list that's about a mile long. If we can get it, we can still get it. We'll try and get it. But guys, that's about it. But all I can tell you now is the mackerel on, so get out there. Is anyone here from, I've got one gentleman here from up north, anyone else from up north at all? Fished off sort of Brisbane way? Yeah, so if you're from Brisbane way, like they get them off obviously Point Lookout 7s, Reef's really good. And you get big fish there too, mate, especially another month or so. But I'd be definitely, I find like Caloundra or off that area is better than off Moreton most of the time, for some reason. But then if Point Lookout, it comes into its own, it's like down here, you know. Or you go out through Jumping Pin and fish the out the front of the pin bar, the Cotton Reef. is really good, up to Sully's. Yep. And you get them around the Dragon, that area sometimes too. And the Spotties are being close behind the bar. Okay. On the low tide, you want low tide around about sort of around 5 or 4 before daylight. And obviously go out when the tides come in, maybe an hour or so, 5:30. And when that clear water starts, which is always about 2 hours after low, that clear water starts to push up towards the back of the bar. And where the clear water meets the dirty water, it's getting pushed back into the bar. The running tide, that bait sits all the way along that cloudy area and hides, and that's when the Spotties and the Spanish are into it. Yeah, and you see the birds diving in. You just cast metals into all that, or you control lures along there. Yeah, it's really good. Anyone fish the 7-3 for the jumping pin area? No? No? Okay. Good. That's a good area. It's actually, no, sorry, it's up Point Lookout area, sorry. Another 30 k's north. Anyone fish down Tweed way? Okay, so Tweed has good area as well. You guys are lucky because you tend to get fish there a lot longer and earlier than us. But we have it a lot more consistent up here. So our fish have really schooled up here, where yours are like bigger loner ones with the odd schooled up fish.
No, we live in Queensland, but
Yeah.
I'll drive 5 hours down the fish for an hour.
Yeah, good. But it is good fishing down there, and especially you get so much reef down there to troll around. But I just find, like, I used to fish always down Palmy and gravel and that, but these days I just stay Southport. It just seems to be so consistent and reliable. But you got to find out where they are. Sometimes they're at 12 fathoms or 18 or 17 fathoms, or the Diamond Reef area. This year it's early Diamond Reef area, and it will be there for the next 3 months now, with the odd fishing closer. So it's about 8k or 7k out to Diamond Reef, roughly speaking.
It's not far.
Not far. But if you go down south a bit, about 27.58, we put Mackerel down that far. As I was saying today, they may be further south. I haven't tried down there yet. That's sort of off about Golden Gate or Focus area, and that's about a 10k run down, or 12k.
So diamonds usually where they got all the blazings and that.
That's right. Yeah.
Time of
Yeah,
year.
that's the same area
Yeah.
for the next few months. Yep. So one of my favourites, guys, just so you know too, particularly around April, like around Easter or Anzac Day sort of thing, we get a lot of mackerel at the front here. What we do is, it tends to be on the diamond always, and what we'll do is we'll troll hard bodies, I said, first, and then we'll try and find where the fish are really stacked up. They really start to stack up on the sounder. And when you find them, we anchor up, and then I burley up heaps, chop up burley and get thrown out. You'll catch your liveys there in the same spot, get some liveys. Drop a livey down fairly deep and have it sitting down there deep. Out the back, I'll put out some whole pillies on gangs with no wire. I use mono, I take a risk on it. Use 30-pound fluorocarbon, whatever, leader. Short trace with a swivel, or I'll draw my line directly to it with an Albright, whatever. And they're sitting there with maybe a 1 ball swing. It's always a little bit of current. And so I've got 1 livey down, because 2 liveys tend to get a bit of a tangle up sometimes. And I've got 2 pillies out, and I've got one of my kids or 2 of my kids spinning lures in the burley trail all the time. And I'll have a couple like float line styles of sand with half a pilly, but generally, yeah, 2 pillies on gangs, 1 half maybe, or 1 cubed up bit of slimy or something a bit different. So I've like 5 lines out plus 2 spinning. There's obviously 3 of us in the boat, so 4 of us. And it just becomes, when they're on, when you get them on, it just becomes a fish factory, which is not probably a good thing for people listening, but when they're on, they're on. And every rod's just going, and you get yellowfin as this goes off, and it's a really good time of the year. So remember April, okay? And do that system. Don't just sit there and troll baits around, troll lures around all day. Anchor up and do that way. And that's right on the diamond. Get guys trolling past to get a bit annoyed because you drop the anchor on their spot, but that's the way it is. And yeah, it's really, really good. Very productive. You bag out in Spanish in no time. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about it. Still anything to add to that, mate?
No, that's about it. I think the biggest thing is just move around on the day. You need to find bait, you need to find fish, and there's no point in fishing over reefs that aren't holding bait on the day. So fish swim, they do move around.
And when you are trolling around, especially at slow speed with baits at the back, you got time to look at people, watch what people are doing, be observant, and watch. You'll think no one's catched anything, but if you look closely, you'll see a lot of fish come out of the side of the boats, and just make note of where it was. Hopefully, it's in the same area you're trolling, and then go back and have a troll past it, because they're going to keep moving as well. So you go back when they're not there, and eventually you'll overlap each other. Because sometimes the fish are stacked up one little area for some reason, don't know why. They do move too a little bit. Sometimes they will move, so you'll do your run over, see them on the screen, and then you've got one, and you sort of, when you're fighting it, you go off into the abyss somewhere, and then you get the fish in the boat, and you get your gear, get it cleaned up, and you go, let's go do another run. You might zoom back around, or you might troll back towards that way, and you've marked it on the screens. We mark everything. As soon as we see a school, we mark it, or we get a hookup, we mark it. Someone's got to mark it straight away. And then we go straight to the exact same mark, and there's nothing. And you're like, where's those fish gone, And you see the guy over there 300 metres away, hook up. So I think they move with the bait sometimes as well. So remember that too. Okay, I think that's about it. Okay, guys, well, get out there, because there's a lot of fish out there. I'm going tomorrow morning if I don't die, if I've no sleep. So we'll be up at 3 and out there again. That's it. So we'll do the draw now.
Yeah, so we just got a lucky draw real quick, guys.
Sorry, guys. Yep. There's the things here. Nice, Stewie. Put that there. Sort
so
these
the
out.
front one's
The front one's number 1, mate?
so go backwards up.
Oh, backwards. Oh, well done. Thanks, Stu. My little list here. So, guys, what we do, we will call out your name based on the number Stewie's got there. Okay?
Yep. So,
and most of these are my cousins or uncles' names.
number 7. So
Number 7 is Dave Lovell. Is there Dave Lovell here? Oh, Dave. Is this the second time? Good on you, matey. Thanks, Uncle Dave. Cheers, mate. Okay, number 2. Let's be my cousin Alex, I hope.
Number 12.
Number 12, we have got... Oh, where is number 12?
Alex.
Is it Alex? Oh, wherever it is on here. Oh,
Alex
there it is.
sounds
Yeah, it's
good.
Alex Ball. That's right. Hi, Alex. How you going, mate? Yeah, good, buddy. Well done. Thanks, mate. So the first one's around about just under $300, and the second one's about 200, just under $200 of stuff. And this is all stuff we use for rigging up. So a lot of stuff here, guys, is stuff I add to it. So
Thanks, mate.
when you see just that skirt coming around before with the gar or whatever, I add pushes in front of it. I even got, at the moment, I've got like a bibless minnow that I sit above it to pull it right down and give it a lot more action, the lure up action. So I'm always trying to think of different things. You guys need to do the same too. Think outside the circle, because they're used to the circle. You need to make it a little bit different to them.
Number 5.
Number 5, Steve. Well done, mate. That's a special Tweed heads pack, mate. Number 4. Okay.
Number 9.
Number 9,
Pretty
Dave.
early numbers,
Hello,
sir.
Zach. Dave, well done, mate. Good to see locals get a bit. Cheers, mate.
Spanner crabs.
Spanner crabs. Okay. Do it. Yeah, you are actually. Yeah. There's a few guys going. So who's spanner crabs here? If those of you who don't, you should give it a shot. So good. So beautiful to eat. But yeah, well, mate, no one's been out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so I can't tell you. But tomorrow.
Been out since the 15th of December.
That's probably about. We went actually after that. We went out on
Yeah.
2 days before Christmas. I think it was early in the morning. Yeah, just.
Yeah.
And did all right, but it was raining. It was blowing 20 knots. It was terrible. But they were there, big ones too. Stewie done the pulling. He's quite good at doing that.
Yeah.
But I'd be going. Probably around 48 to 50 metres, sort of off Q1. It's a general spot. Look for the pro, mate. That's the best
Yeah.
thing.
Number 8.
Number 8.
They're all very close.
Number 8 is
Terry.
Terry. Oh, well done, Terry. It's only a little one at the end of the table, mate, but it's something. And the last one, which is a real little one, we'll go to, guys, thanks for coming along. And I want to try and do, we've got a comp going at the moment with mackerel at the moment on lures and baits, and it's like all the photos, we've got quite a few photos been coming in. You'll see some of them on the end of the tag of our posts. I got one today of a guy went out with his 2 kids on his jet ski. I think I saw him out there today, this morning, as we were coming in. And they got three Spanish, I think they got. Trolling hardbodies around the trolling hardbodies is a bit hard for them to say to the kids. And, but it was a great shot, yeah.
And the last one, number 6, is 15. Number 15.
Aaron. Oh, 15 is it? Oh, sorry,
Number
no,
15,
sorry, not Aaron.
It's
Sorry,
number
Aaron.
6 prize, 15.
Clay.
Yeah, sorry.
Well done,
Always
mate.
got to throw a
So it's a
spanner
small
in.
prize, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Clay.
thanks,
Cheers, mate. So, guys, yeah, so any of this gear you need, it's all 30% off, and anything you need, just let us know, we'll do the best price, okay? Thank you, and good luck out there. So send your photos in, guys, to just tag it on the bottom of what we just posted for this seminar, if you don't mind.
Like in the comments.
In the comments, yeah, that's right, yep. And we'll collectively put them all together. So it's a $300 lure package, okay? And stuff, a bit of stuff. So we just draw one out of the hat at the end of the next change. There's one more mackerel seminar, then we got, I think it was in crustaceans after that, I think. Yep. At that point, we'll draw it on that night, okay? So put your photos in. And good luck over the next couple of days. You got really good weather, so didn't tell you about the weather, but I did tell you sort of, but tomorrow is the northwest, 8 to 10 knots, 12 knots maybe. Saturday's 2 to 3 knots for most of the morning, and then it goes a bit in the afternoon, about 8 knots, I think. Sunday morning, you've got a little bit in the morning for about 4 hours, not too bad, then it gets a little bit windy, I think about 12 or 15 in the afternoon. And then next week, I think Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday or Thursday mornings, like 2 to 8 knots most mornings to about 10 o'clock. It's pretty good. Best we've had for months. Yeah, finally, I know, well deserved. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks, Stewie.
Thank you.
Thank you.